Namaskar and welcome. My name is Rania Kapoor, and today we're talking about something almost every Indian uses: banks. We trust banks with our hard earned money, but many people still feel confused, nervous, or surprised by bank rules and charges. This is the ABCs of banking. Imagine keeping all your money at home. That's risky, stressful, and unsafe. Banks were created to keep money safe, make payments easier, and help money grow. But banks do not just store money, they use the deposits to give loans to businesses, students, farmers, and home buyers. That is how banks earn and how the economy runs. When you deposit money, it does not sit in a vault with your name on it. The bank keeps a portion for safety and uses the rest to lend to others. The borrowers pay interest. The bank shares a small part of that interest with you. That is why you earn interest on savings and deposits. Many people worry, what if something happens to a bank? In India, the deposits are insured by DICGC. Currently, up to 5 lakh rupees per depositor per bank is protected. This includes your savings account, your fixed deposits account, and recurring deposits accounts. Knowing this reduces fear and builds confidence. Banks offer different accounts and cards: saving accounts, zero balance accounts, debit cards, credit cards. Each has a purpose. Problems happen when people use them without understanding rules, limits, and charges. Let's hear from the public. जब आप बैंक्स में अपने पैसे डालते हो तो वहाँ पर आपको सबसे ज़्यादा मुसीबत किस चीज़ में आती है?
कहेंगे कभी भाई 2 मिनट बैठ जाओ, अभी चाय पी रहे हैं उसके बाद आना, अभी कैश लेने गया हुआ है और टाइम से कभी स्टार्ट नहीं होता।
बैंक्स में सबसे ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम आती है कि जब हमें लाइन में खड़ा रहना पड़ता है पैसे डिपॉजिट करने के लिए या विड्रॉ करने के लिए। वो बड़ा लंबा प्रोसेस होता है, उसमें परेशान भी हो जाते हैं।
क्या आपको पता है कि आपके बैंक आपके अमाउंट को डिडक्ट करता है?
हमें तो कोई आइडिया नहीं था कि बैंक भी कोई फीस निकालता है।
जब कट जाते हैं तब पता चलता है हमें।
For today's episode, we're joined by Ms. Sanchita Mukherjee, a private banker turned entrepreneur with over 23 years of experience in private banking with banks like HSBC, Standard Chartered, and HDFC.
So, for a regular Indian, if I am earning money, what documents do I have to give to the bank to open a bank account? Oh, it's become seamless these days.
It's very easy.
Absolutely, because of the tremendous technological advancements in the banking space, along with the regulatory risk controls, which the regulator has been stupendously good with. It's become very easy. So the master key in this aspect is known as the Aadhaar card. Right?
Yes.
So if your Aadhaar is actually linked to a mobile, then you can even do an entire video KYC, which is know your customer documents. That the whole thing can be set up through a video KYC with the use of your Aadhaar and OTP to your mobile, and a bank account can actually be opened online. You would need a photograph for a physical form, and you would need definitely the PAN card as well. But the entire thing can be done online if you have an Aadhaar which is linked to your mobile number. Another important thing is nowadays a very, very crucial aspect of KYC. KYC is know your customer documents, would be your DigiLocker. If because everything is digitized in today's date in India. So if you have access to your DigiLocker, again, opening is very, very simple.
What are the different types of bank accounts like this? We were talking recurring deposit account, then savings deposit account. Which one is the one with like the minimum where you can withdraw and take money whenever you want?
So there would ideally be two kinds of savings account. Of course, there are many kinds, and banks come up with their own marketing promotions and all of that. But broadly speaking, if one were to really break it down, one would be like a zero balance account. But one needs to be very, very careful. When you're opening an account, you need to ask your banker whether it's a zero balance account or a regular account. Now, zero balance account is typically a no frills account, right? It's very ideal, say, for students or lower income groups, drivers, plumbers, laborers. It's an absolutely no frill account where you can just do your banking transactions safely without incurring any hidden charges in quote. A regular account, on the other hand, is very useful to the middle class. For example, you'll get your ATM, your debit card, you can get your check leaves, you can get a whole lot of other facilities. But at the same time, one needs to understand in a regular account what are the charges that incur with the frills that you get.
So many people don't know that, like, when you're depositing money into a bank account, they don't know what charges that the bank are applying on them. So can you just give a couple of examples of these type of bank charges?
Yes, absolutely. So it's unfortunate that if people are not aware or do not ask these relevant questions when they're opening an account, 100%. So basic thumb rules, one needs to ask, for example, what if I'm signing up for ATM debit card, what are the annual charges, right? If I'm signing up for a personalized checkbook, what are the charges on that? Even within regular accounts, say if you're having a regular account, there are certain charges for the upkeep of the balance. If your balance goes below a certain amount, what are the charges that happen? Because balance maintenance charge, a lot of people are not aware, can also come with an 18% GST attached to it.
Oh my God.
Yes. So if you are not maintaining the balance, which is the prerequisite of the category of the account you're in, you might incur the balance non-maintenance charge with 18% GST. Similarly, you have Premier accounts, your UHNI accounts, all of that. Then you have, say, non-branch operating charges, right? So if you're a resident in Delhi, however, you are transacting quite often from a bank or a branch in Mumbai, right? So that branch of that bank can put up a convenience charge. Certain banks can even put up charges for a failure of an ATM transaction.
Oh my God.
Yes, there are charges, right?
And so slowly they all are going to be deducted from your balance.
Yes. So what I would really like to leave with the viewers is there's a basic thumb rule, which one can really follow to navigate this, is to make, it's a 3-minute rule, I call it. And it's something that I've done my entire life. It's very simple, really. On the 1st, or rather, I think on the 5th of every month, just sit down, open your account, and do a very quick recon of that entire month's smallest of transactions. It barely takes around 10 to 15 minutes. But for example, SMS alert charge. You know, you might get deducted by that 20 rupees with an SMS alert charge which hits your account. So in which case, nowadays with the technological advancements, you can actually write in the chat box while you're going through your account, what is this charge? So that way, you're educating yourself 5th of every month, just looking at the charges. This is an ATM debit charge. This is an SMS alert charge. This is my annual charge for the debit card. This is my locker rental charge. You can ask the chatbot or you can call up customer service directly and find out. What happens is then we're educated, we are disciplined. Yeah, because, you know, for a lower middle class, this is a biggest wealth drain kind of a thing. You know, for them, even a 120 rupees charge can be akin to a 1 month's mobile recharge balance situation, right? So all of them add up.
When we spread awareness about these charges and about the different facilities of banks, I feel like next time we'll always think twice before taking certain actions, and next time we'll be able to prevent the bank from applying such charges.
Oh, absolutely.
That's really important.
You totally reclaim the power and the control yourself, and you become way more educated as a consumer. So just the smallest of habits, but it's very interesting. If just one takes that initiative to sit on the 5th of every month and do a very quick recon.
So there are two types of cards, at least I know of, what I hear my parents say, debit and credit card.
Right.
So can you just explain briefly both of them and just the differences between them?
Sure. I would say that there are three kinds of cards.
Okay.
The third is a fairly newer category, but interesting. So debit card, definitely, it's your own money. It's your own wallet, right? So I'm taking a very layman terminology. It's your own wallet. It's your own money that you're using
Yeah.
to do transactions. Credit card is a kind of a personal loan.
It's a loan.
It's like a temporary loan.
Okay.
Yes, it's not your own money. It's something, it's like you're using an institution's money. I'll come down to credit card in a bit. And the third would be a prepaid card.
Hmm.
So a prepaid card is something which is predestined and preloaded with money from your account for a specific purpose. Like it could be akin to like a gift card or a forex card, things like that.
Yeah.
So that's a prepaid card. It's your own money, but it has been loaded for a very specific transaction. Now, credit cards are very interesting because the word that I used, it's a temporary loan.
Temporary loan.
You get an extension of, I think, 45 days to pay whatever is due to the institution with whom you've used the credit card, you've done your purchases and all of that. So you get 45 days to pay whatever you've used the card for.
Okay.
Now, credit card statements often come up with a minimum amount due. Now, if you consistently keep paying the minimum amount due, you will be incurring close to 36 to 45% of interest charge on it, which is humongous.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always best to keep a track of the salary you're getting, deducting all of your mortgages and EMI and all of that from your salary. How much is your bachat? What is your actual saving?
And
If you have a sense of that, try and use your credit card within that savings amount so that you can pay the full amount whenever the statement comes and whenever the due date happens, instead of paying the minimum amount due. Because if you keep on paying the minimum amount due, you're getting into a debt trap.
yeah, which is another really important concept that you brought up, debt trap. And why are so many people afraid of getting cards from banks? And what is the debt trap?
One shouldn't be afraid. One should just be very smart about it.
Yeah.
Because credit cards offer amazing schemes, points, reward systems, miles, all of that. In today's day and age, you even have AI to help you compare, navigate. You have your bankers, you have customer service, you have a whole host of facilities. But
There's so
again,
many resources.
absolutely. But again, the thumb rule, one has to understand and one has to take the initiative themselves to understand the basics. Now, again, I'll come back to the fact that credit card is a temporary loan. So how does one work smartly with it?
Yeah.
You know, as a consumer, I'm very keen
Yeah.
to get all the free points, to get all the free rewards, to get that free flight ticket. However, I don't want to fall into a debt trap.
Yeah.
So point number one, understand what is your salary.
Yeah.
Take out all of your monthly expenses, EMI, card loan, home loan, all of that from that. And then understand what is your saving. Within that saving, whatever it is that you're doing with your credit card, say recreational, entertainment, restaurant, shopping, wherever you're swiping it, do that within that. So that when the bill comes up, you're able to pay the entire amount due without falling into a debt trap.
Yeah.
And ideally, you should be able to pay off your entire amount without consuming the entire salary or the savings which was left. It should be close to 50% of the savings. And the other 50% should be back in the savings account. Otherwise, you literally have very little money left in your savings account for a contingency. So that's one way one could go about it.
But when we have to give money back to the bank after using the credit card, what if someone delays that by 15 days? What happens then?
You get late payment penalties.
There
Your interest is charged. These are humongous costs. And it's a big drain on middle income. It is. So one has to be very sure of these calculations. Otherwise, one shouldn't get into a credit card at all.
At all.
You have to be very, very sure of your own calculations in terms of, like I said, basic maths. You know, a housewife's calculation. Credit card, okay, let me put an analogy. It's like a chef's tool, a chef's knife.
Yes.
In the hand of a chef, you can come up with marvelous recipes and you can literally create art. But in the hand of a child, you could land up bleeding.
Yeah.
So it is like that. It's a double-edged sword.
Can you explain the concept of prepaid cards?
Yes, of course. So prepaid card in a layman's term would be similar to like a gift card or a metro card, right? Where you preload the card from your account itself, your money,
Yeah.
but it's used for a specific purpose. For example, say if you have a family member or you yourself, you're going abroad and you don't wish to carry too much of currency. How do you travel? How do you make your payments with? You want a safe, secure option, a plastic money. So you use a Forex card, right? It's preloaded. It has possibly 0% Forex charges.
Wow.
Yes, when you're abroad. And you don't have to go with a very fat wallet full of currency and the risks that entails that, and you use it for that specific purpose and you come back and then you can nullify that card and you convert. Say if that Forex card has been loaded with say some $1,000, you've used $500, you come back to India and then you reconvert that back to INR. It's pretty seamless. Can all be done online through net banking.
And it seems so useful.
Very useful.
Yeah.
It's plastic money.
What's one message that you'd like to give to our viewers?
To be very, very discerning, to understand each and every product that a bank is offering, do the deep dive yourself, do the 3-minute rule of the 5th of every month, sit and do a quick recon of your bank account, understand the charges, take the initiative, understand what is your credit card company, what are the kind of charges, but also what are the kind of rewards, how one can look forward to using this wisely and in a way that it benefits you, understand the technological advancements, the specific consents you're giving to the bank in terms of written consents, all of that, and just to be a little more aware and use it smartly.
Banks are not meant to confuse or frighten us. They are meant to support our financial lives. When we understand how banks work, we stop losing money quietly. Thank you for watching. This week's challenge is to check your last bank statement. Look for any charge you don't understand and ask your bank about it, because knowledge is protection.